everyone. This is Dr. Cheryl Selman. I'm your host, and welcome to Total Health TV. This is a place for insightful and cutting-edge conversations with experts in all areas of well-being to help you be empowered to live a totally healthy life. And today we are having a really important conversation with Dr. David Minkoff, and we're talking about a key strategy for boosting your immune system, which is a really important conversation that we need to have these days. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about our guest, Dr. Minkoff. He is a graduate of the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine, and he worked as a traditional medical doctor for 20 years before turning into a more alternative approach. And he and his wife started a holistic alternative medical clinic in Clearwater, Florida called LifeWorks Wellness, which is a dynamic center that is offering a wide range of alternative treatments to support your health and regenerate your health. He is also the founder in 2000 of Body Health, which is a nutrition company that is dedicated to leading edge nutritional supplements. And in addition to that, Dr. Minkoff is a passionate fitness expert. He has actually participated in 38 Ironman contests, and he also was involved for 8 times in the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii. God bless him, that's all I can say. And he also writes 2 weekly newsletters, the Optimum Health Report and Body Health Fitness Newsletter. And David is also the author of The Search for the Perfect Protein, the key to solving weight loss, depression, fatigue, insomnia, and osteoporosis. And it is my great pleasure to welcome David to the show today. So hello, David.
Hello, Cheryl.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you on the show and to be able to have this conversation about boosting your immune system with a really profound understanding of what our bodies really need to optimize our health and wellness. And I just want to say that I have been introduced to you and some of your phenomenal products a while back. I got really interested in what you were doing. I read your book. It was an eye-opener for me. And I thought I had some understanding of the role of protein, but boy, I did not have half of the knowledge that I found in your book. And since taking those key products, I've seen a tremendous increase in my health and vitality. So I'm really happy to be able to share your work with my audience today. So David, tell us a little bit about what it is about protein that is so important for optimizing all facets of our health.
Sure. So protein is like the thing that the body's made out of. So if you look at our organs and our tissues and our enzymes and our neurotransmitters and many hormones, they're made out of proteins. And proteins can be very small compounds, like technically thyroid hormone is a protein, or they can be very large compounds like skeletal muscle, where you have like 5,600 pieces of amino acids that make up one muscle fiber. But depending on the structure, there are lots of different proteins in the body, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 different proteins. And these proteins are made up of smaller units called amino acids. It's kind of like an alphabet. There are 22 amino acids. You put them together in different combinations and at different lengths, and you get different proteins. There are 8 essential amino acids, which those we have to get in the diet. But if you get the 8, the body can make the other 14. Those 8, if we're doing a language analogy, it's sort of like you're playing Scrabble and you have 26 letters and you have to put words together. In protein chemistry, we have amino acids. There's 22 of them, and we have to put them together and we get proteins. But if you think of, in the English language, vowels, you know, there's a certain number of vowels, and there's no words in English that don't have vowels. And it's the same with proteins. There's 8 essential amino acids, which are like vowels. They are part of every real protein in the body. And if we're not getting enough of those, or we're not digesting the proteins that we eat, or we're not absorbing them once we take them in, then your body is going to have trouble making enough proteins of the right kind in order to optimize a person's health. And so what I found in my practice is that when I began measuring levels of amino acids in a person's blood, and this is a regular traditional medical test. You can go to LabCorp Quest and say, I want an amino acid panel, serum amino acid panel. And they will give you those amino acids, and you can see, are they in a good range or not? We want them in a good high range, all of them. And if they're not, it may be then that your body doesn't have the right ones or enough of the right ones to make the protein that it needs to be healthy. So proteins have to do with energy creation and detoxification. And we're talking about immune function today. Immunity, all the immune system is made out of proteins. These things like that are called immunoglobulins, those are proteins. Those are particles that attack viruses and bacteria and give you immune system memory. Other things called cytokines. People probably heard lately with this corona thing that some people who have had the most sickness or the most serious sickness have this thing called cytokine storm, where these cytokines, which are inflammation particles, or they're particles that mediate inflammation, that they can go too high in some people. But these are proteins. And so if we're going to keep the body functioning correctly, we need enough of the right kind of proteins, which means we need enough essential amino acids. And my book, The Search for the Perfect Protein, really is kind of a sort of an education for the lay person on here's what proteins are, here's what amino acids are, here's where they come from, here's why they're important, and here's why they're a big factor in your health, whether it's for energy or immunity or bone health or mental emotional things, the neurotransmitters. If you don't have enough serotonin or dopamine or GABA, these are made out of amino acids. You can have low levels and your body won't function right. So that's the basic idea.
So the question that comes to mind is how widespread is protein deficiency in our culture?
Well, you'd
What is
think
your thought on
it wouldn't be so much, but I measure every patient and have for about 15 years. And I find that probably 90% of people have amino acid deficiencies. Their amino acid levels in their blood are way below optimum. If that person is a vegan or a vegetarian, it's about 99%. If they're more in a carnivore mode, it's better, but still, many of them have low levels of essential amino acids. And we see that translated to problems with their health.
that? Why do you think that is?
I think mostly people today have a problem with their intestine. They have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. They have yeasts or parasites. The inner lining of their intestine gets injured. They have a deficiency of digestive enzymes. And so and then they may not be eating quality proteins, but that sort of combination of, and they probably are getting way too many herbicides and pesticides and chemicals in their food, which also cause injury to the inner lining of the intestine. So that between not eating the proper amounts of protein or not being able to digest it or not being able to absorb it, we see low levels. And it usually falls in one of those 3 categories.
Well, I think about people who don't make enough stomach acid to begin with, and all these people on these proton pump inhibitors, and they shut down the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, which is so critical for the beginning process of digestion of protein. So yeah, I would imagine they become so deficient as well, because you just can't even begin the process of breaking down the proteins into the amino acids.
100% right. When I was doing research for the book, there's something like 24 million prescriptions per month written for medications that block stomach acid in one way or another. Now, if you block stomach acid, what's interesting is that if you look in the physician's desk reference, all of these drugs were supposed to be given for short periods only. So someone has a bleeding ulcer or severe gastritis, these drugs might be helpful as a temporary solution to reduce stomach acid. But past 2 or 3 weeks, they're not supposed to be given. Yet many family physicians and GI doctors will put people on these things for years and years and years thinking it's really okay. And it's not. If you don't have stomach acid, you can't digest protein properly. You don't digest or absorb minerals properly. So we see people with low magnesium, selenium, zinc, cobalt, these things that are super important for body function, and they'll be low. So you're exactly right. It's a problem. Now the drugs to block stomach acid are mostly available over the counter. So there are tens of millions of more people who do these as a routine, and it blocks their stomach from being able to start the protein digestion process. And then they're going to be amino acid deficient because they're not going to digest their proteins. The other thing that happens with that is if you don't have enough stomach acid, the bacteria and parasites and funguses that come in through food, because most of us are not boiling our food isn't sterile. You know, you go to a sushi bar and you eat raw fish, or you like your meat rare, or you get salads and who knows where they were grown in some foreign country or some other place. They are not sterile, and those bacteria come into our stomach, and if we have proper stomach acid, they will be killed. If they don't have proper stomach acid because the person is either on a medication or they're 40 plus years old, because many people as they age stop producing enough stomach acid, and then these bacteria get into the small intestine and they grow and they cause infection, inflammation, and then the important part of your intestine, your small intestine, is to absorb nutrients, and then they don't get absorbed. So amino acids are among those things.
Yeah, it really is a huge problem. And what would be your advice to all of the vegetarians and vegans who are listening to this conversation?
Well, some parts of it are good. Some people do it for spiritual reasons. I can understand it. I think they just have to be very careful, because the things that vegans and vegetarians tend to be low in are amino acids, so quality proteins. Many of them are B12 deficient because most of the B12 comes in through animal foods. They may become iron deficient because irons that are in vegetables are not as well absorbed. And they need omega-3 fats. There are vegetarian omega-3 sources, but many times if they're eating walnuts or algae, they may not be getting enough in. So I have vegetarian and vegan patients, and I just make sure that every 6 to 9 months, I'm measuring levels in their body to make sure they have enough amino acids, enough omega-3s, enough iron, enough B12, and they're not deficient. And I supplement them generally with amino acids. So we give them Perfect Amino, and then they can do fine, but they have to pay attention to it. And many of them come because they're not feeling well, or they're tired, or they have hormonal imbalances, because they are deficient and they notice it and they're not sure what's wrong.
So tell us about the formula that you developed called Perfect Aminos.
So a scientist discovered that, if you look in a traditional nutrition or dietary textbook, you will find variations that there's 9 essential amino acids or 10 essential amino acids, or for babies, you need this many, or for older people, you need this many. But what was found is that there are actually 8 essential amino acids, and that if they are in the right balance, so perfect amino is 8 essential amino acids, and the amounts of each one are very critical. And if you put them in this exact right combination, then the body can take this and make any protein that it wants very, very efficiently. So if you look at, say, meat or fish, and you measure what percentage of the amino acids that you eat that are in these foods are utilized by the body to actually make protein, it's only about 33%. If you look at soy or dairy and you measure what percentage of the amino acids in those foods actually get made by our body into protein, it's only about 16 or 17%. So perfect amino, when you take it in, is 99% utilized by the body to make protein. So that means it's 3 times better than any of those foods. Whole chicken eggs, so if you eat the yolk and the white, are about 48% utilized. So that's the best food except for breast milk. Breast milk's about 49%, but it's a little hard to get unless you're a baby. So what we find is if we give perfect amino, these are L-form amino acids. They're pharmaceutical grade. They're completely pure. And when you take them in, 99% of them are absorbed right through the intestinal membrane because they don't need digestion. They're already pre-digested. They go right into your bloodstream, right into your cells, and your body's able to make protein. So if you worked out that day and your body needs to manufacture more to repair muscles or collagen, or you need proteins to grow skin or hair or nails, or you need proteins for enzymes, your body has an ample supply so that it can do all the things it needs. You get exposed to a virus, your immune system needs to ramp up. Well, these are immune proteins. And if your body's not getting enough, it's going to make a decision. Do I repair this? I ran 10 miles this morning. So my body is trying to now repair my lungs, heart, tendons, ligaments, muscles from the run I did this morning. But if I get exposed to something today, it's also got to immune-wise ramp up. And if there is a shortage of essential amino acids, it can't do both. And either the healing will be slow, or it will lead to an injury, or the fitness gain from the workout won't occur because the body couldn't really fix itself, or I get exposed to a virus or a bacteria and I don't have enough extra immune proteins, and then I can get sick. So what we find is if people take enough so that they meet all of those various needs, then their body can actually do all the things it's supposed to do to stay healthy, no matter what their activity level is or what their stress levels are. And that's the whole idea of it.
This is such a big story because it impacts so many aspects of our body's ability to function, repair, regenerate. And now that we're really concerned about the immune system, and we should be concerned about the immune system and ways to really support the immune system. But when I hear you talk, it seems to me that having access to these fundamental amino acids to help build a healthy immune system is really critical. In fact, it's probably one of the keys to really create a vibrant, vital, responsive immune system.
You're totally right. It's completely key. And just so as an example, if you talk to people who are doing stressful things, let's say they're working out a lot or they're racing, and they put their body through a traumatic couple of hours, or let's say an Ironman where they might go 15 or 16 hours in a very tough physical effort. that then the body's really stressed. And it's stressed not only immune-wise, but it's stressed on a musculoskeletal basis. And if you talk to athletes who do this, you'll find that it is very common after a hard workout or a hard race that within a few days they get an upper respiratory infection. They get a cold. They have sniffles or runny nose or cough. And then for a week or 10 days, they're a little bit down. What I found with the athletes that I work with and with myself is if during that event and right after that event, they boost levels of essential amino acids. So they take Perfect Amino, an extra 10 or 20 tablets during that, or the powder, like right after the race, and then 4 or 5 hours later, and then the next day they do an extra dose or two, that they don't get the breakdown. There is enough amino acids coming in so that they can repair their muscles and tendons and ligaments, and there's enough amino acids coming in that they can keep their immune system high, and they don't get sick, and they recover fast. And that's a really important point for people. So now it's stressful times. People may not be sleeping as much. They may be nervous or anxious or stressed. Either their job is they're in a hospital and their exposure rates are very high to sick people, or they may be home and going a little nuts because income's not coming in and they're stressed that way. Under these circumstances, people need immune boosters. And I think the most important one is that they're getting enough essential amino acids so they can keep their immune system high. Yes, you need vitamin and, elderberry and all, there's a million things that you can take. But primary is get enough essential amino acids so that you can keep your immune system as competent as it can be. The other thing on this is all the barrier tissues, the places where the outside can access into us, like our nose, our respiratory membrane, our gut membrane. These tissues turn over quite quickly. Every 4 or 5 days, you need a new layer because they're stressed, they get attacked. If you don't have enough essential amino acids, instead of turning over every 4 or 5 days, they might turn over every week or 2. So if you get a cut and you're a slow healer, a large part of that is you don't have enough essential amino acids to fix it. And so if you keep high levels of amino acids, your membranes turn over the way they're supposed to. So you have nice, fresh, tough, competent tissue there, and you're less susceptible to viral penetration or parasitic or bacterial penetration. And you'll be the better for it because now your inner important organs are protected from outside things coming in.
That's why I really wanted us to have this conversation today, because I think we need to all be more educated about the role of proteins, and particularly ensuring that we're getting those 8 essential amino acids into our body so we can repair and support ourselves at all times, but especially now. My last question is, are there any contraindications? Are there side effects? Anything people need to know when they take the Perfect Aminos?
Really none. There's no interaction with any medication that's known. I think if people are on a lot of medication, they could check with their physician. I'm not giving people medical advice, so they should check with their practitioner and make sure that they're not going to have trouble. But we've given these things to patients with many kinds of illnesses, and we haven't had any drug interactions occur. There's really no way to overdose on it. An average adult that weighs 115 pounds or more should be taking 8 to 10 per day. It's best if you take them all at once. It comes as a powder, so that would be 1.5 to 2 scoops, glass of water or sports drink or juice. It can be added. You can just drink it down. I always take mine first thing in the morning. I get up. I like the powder. There's 2 flavors. There's a berry and a lemon lime. You put a scoop of the powder, 2 scoops of the powder in a glass of water, drink it down. I then wash up, shave. By the time the stuff is in me for 15 or 20 minutes, then I can eat anything I want, and it's a way to do it. Today I ran 10 miles. I'm going to take a second dose this right when we're done with this, because it was hard. It's very hot where I am right now, and I ran really hard, and I know that my body is somewhat stressed for it. So it's going to be, I want to give it an extra boost to make sure that I'm covered and that my immune system is going to be good.
So just to clarify, so if you're taking the Perfect Aminos, it's best to take it all at one time. I've been taking like 5 capsules twice a day, but I really should be taking all 10 at one time.
It works better if you give a whole amount, goes in better than if you give less.
Okay, well that's a good distinction.
So I mean, on the bottle it says five tablets or 1 scoop, which for many people is okay. I find that it works better if you give a little more. So I suggest it, unless if you're under 115 pounds, 5 is probably enough. But if you're over 120 pounds, take more. We have some pro athletes that are, they're Tampa Bay Buck football players, and they're 260 pounds. I have them taking more because they're just bigger guys.
Right. Well, this is such a wonderful conversation. It's an opportunity for all of us to really appreciate how to support our health at the very foundational level, which is always the key, I think, for us to really build a healthy body and to create, at this point, a healthy immune system. But we have to start with the essential building blocks in order to do that. So thank you, David, for the wonderful work you're doing, for putting this formula together, for helping to allow us to get a greater understanding of the importance of protein, but particularly in the form of these 8 essential amino acids, which everyone really needs to benefit from in whatever way. But hopefully they will check out the product you developed, Perfect Aminos. They can go to your website, bodyhealth.com, and learn more, get onto your newsletter. And thank you so much for this wonderful information and the wonderful work you're doing in supporting all of us in staying healthy.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thanks for helping us get the message out to people.
And thank all of you who are watching. And remember to tune in all the time to this wonderful program, Total Health TV. See you next time.